Hello, friend. Season
4.
The Mystical American Patriots Society is transmitting to you from a high desert encampment on the frontier of our agrarian hoplite republic. This is a variety program for happy warriors who are getting some seriously bad vibes from the deranged post-Christian technocracy. Grab a tankard of yak's milk and join us by the campfire as Sumo and Cavi return to shake your surveillance, expel your parasites, and generally have a good time. Are you ready? Stand by.
Mystical American Patriot Society. Now available in 3 dimensions.
So long and thanks for all the fish. So sad that it should come to this. We tried to warn you all, but oh, you may not share our intellect, which might explain your disrespect for all the natural wonders that grow around you. So long, and thanks for all the fish. The world's about to be destroyed. There's no point getting all annoyed. Oh, lie back and let the planet dissolve around you. Despite those nets of tuna fleets, we thought that most of you were sweet, especially tiny tots and your pregnant women. So long, and thanks for all the fish. You know that song, Cavi? Does Cavi know the song?
I'm guessing that's from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
That's correct. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the movie on the famous set of books.
The new movie or the old one?
I didn't know there. Which is the new one? How new is the new one?
Probably not new at all anymore, actually.
Uh-huh.
Isn't there like an official like British TV version of it, and then
there
they made
is
the actual movie, but only made the first one?
I don't know. I know there's a movie that I saw with Zooey Deschanel in it, and I think that came out like 20 years ago, and that's the new one. I think the other one is older, but there may be a newer one I haven't heard of. I don't know. But anyway, that's the song. The song that I'm singing is the one from the one with Zooey Deschanel in it. which is a fun movie. It's a different kind of humor from that is gone to history now. That kind of British humor, but I thought it was interesting because today I'm up with the show talking about Gerald the Dolphin. Have you heard of Gerald the Dolphin?
South Park, who turned himself into a dolphin.
No, Gerald
His
the
name
Dolphin.
Gerald.
No, Gerald the Dolphin was. Can you turn yourself up a little bit? You're very quiet.
Very quiet.
Yeah. Anyway, listeners, while he's doing that,
How about now?
that's better. Gerald the Dolphin is an alleged story coming out of Florida. I don't think it's true. It appears to just have been made up as satire about a man washing up. He was found washed up on the shore by authorities spouting nonsense. And when they questioned him, he said that he'd been kidnapped by dolphins and forced to work undersea building.
I heard that.
Yeah, building their undersea thing or whatever.
I thought that was debunked already, though.
Yeah, it was, but people go into it. It got very popular for whatever reason. It's an old story that's been on the internet for a while. It got very popular this week. I saw people sharing it, and the premise of the beginning of it's always so long and thanks for all the fish is that dolphins are actually the most intelligent species on Earth, but they just have trouble communicating with us because we are less intelligent.
Second most intelligent.
What now?
Second most intelligent.
Oh, second most. Yeah, they're behind mice. But anyway, they say so long and thanks for all the fish because they know the world's about to be destroyed, and humans don't. And then they just fly up out of the ocean. It turns out they could fly out the whole time. They can swim in space just the same. They don't need to breathe at all, and they just fly away. And they sing so long, and thanks for all the fish as they go away. And that's just a fun little story. But I do think the world's about to be destroyed. Let's see. Die back and let the planet dissolve around you. So long and thanks for all the fish. That message is a good message. That message is at the core of today's message is let the planet dissolve around. Cavi, once upon a time, I think I mentioned this on the show before. Have I talked about my neighbor that was run over and killed before in a car?
I don't specifically remember that, but you have so many crazy stories. It's entirely possible.
Yeah. So
You've seen a lot of people die.
I haven't. I don't feel like I have, but maybe I have. I don't know. Anyway, I don't feel like more than normal.
Than me, which is 0.
Well, here's the thing about it. So growing up, I had this. I don't know if I was home from college at the time or if I was in high school and it was summer. I don't recall. It was a sunny day, and I was still living at my parents' house, but I was old enough probably I could drive. I think. I don't know. Anyway, I'm in bed. I have 2 memories of this person. 2 memories of 3 actually, but 2. One is her house was on fire, and 2, she was run over by a car. And the third one is that her grandson used to sing Long Black Train in church. Don't go riding on that long black train, which is a very not good song. His voice was not deep enough for it, but he'd like to think it was. And it was, it's a very belabored, if you haven't heard the song, it was a country song a while ago, and it's a very belabored and ham-fisted metaphor using a locomotive as like a imagery for sin and death and on the trip to hell. It's not, imagine the Polar Express movie with Tom Hanks where there's a magic train that goes to see Santa. But instead of that, there's a magic train that goes to see the devil. That's kind of the premise of it. And it's not, yes.
You can't see me, but I'm giggling like an idiot over here over Long Black Train.
Yeah, it's dumb. It was a dumb song and he couldn't sing it. But the thing was, what I remember most about it is he would always wear cowboy boots while he was singing it. And this is a big problem in the South specifically, where I was growing up at, is a lot of people like to feign being more, they like to feign their bona fides at being country more than they actually have them. People act a lot more country than they are. Kind of like in black communities, how people act more gangster than they are. Like I was in a black neighborhood in Ohio one time, or maybe Kentucky. I don't remember. Let's say Kentucky. And I was walking around, and this guy was giving me some stuff. Black fella, he was walking past, and he started saying something about quote. I think he was actually quoting some rap song about like popping a cap in people. And I said to him, "Do you even have caps on you? Caps are bullets." And he just sort of looked defeated for a second. I said, "Yeah, I know. You're just trying to be. You don't even actually have a gun on you, do you?" No, exactly. It's the same thing. That's true for almost everybody in these situations. They're all pretending because it's that ego boost, I guess. I don't know. But he didn't have any bullets, and this guy had never ridden a horse. Never. He'd never ridden a horse in his life. I don't think he ever wrangled a cow. Now, me, as someone who did grow up in the middle of a cow pasture and did occasionally have to wrangle livestock and does know how to call pigs. Can you call a pig, Gavi? Do you know how to call pigs?
No. What do you call a pig? Is this a joke?
You go like this. Here's how you call a pig. Cover your listeners. If you have headphones in, this is going to be loud for a second. Just warning. Okay, 3, 2, 1. You go. Like that. That's how you call pigs. And I don't know why that works, but every pig in the universe will come running if you start doing that noise very high pitched and loud. I don't know why they do it. And they come to you and you throw slop at them. And I'm not the world's best horse rider by a long shot. I'm not a sports jumper. I do not do the rodeo, but I have ridden. I know all the pieces of a saddle and how to get up on a horse and how to control it and move it around. So I feel like I had a lot more credentials for wearing cowboy boots than most. And I feel like it's stolen valor. Honestly, what goes on in this country and people LARPing as country people because they aren't. My wife, this is how country we were, Cavi. In school, in public school, she had square dancing as like a module that was taught in public school.
I had to do square dancing when I was in elementary school.
Well, there you go.
I hated it.
There you go. I didn't even have to do that. I don't know where.
And they would make us go to square dancing they call it folk dancing in the park. And every spring we would have to go to a park with all of the other schools, and we'd all do like square dancing together.
Well, okay, so yeah, so there you go. At what age was this?
Oh, this was like grade 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, see, I think my wife had multiple units of this in multiple years. What I know most from the square dancing is that square dancers started the whole idea of bedazzling things, which sounds like a big claim, but it isn't. Because if you've ever been to a rodeo, you know that there's nothing a cowgirl loves more than bedazzled pockets on jeans. Nothing. They like a cowboy hat that's not very expensive. Because if you go to a cowboy hat shop, they want like $700 for a cowboy hat in most cases. And it's like, that's not worth that. So they buy the cheaper ones that are like $80. And they're all wearing those. And they have blue jeans with the back pockets bedazzled. And that is what every cowgirl in the world wants, is blue jeans with bedazzled pockets. And this guy had neither bedazzled pockets nor a cowboy hat, but he was singing Long Black Train. That's the third thing I remember about my neighbor that with the house on fire that was run over, was her grandson didn't deserve his cowboy boots. But so I was there. It was like 10 in the morning, and I was asleep, as you do as a adolescent person in the summer. You're asleep at 10 a.m. still, as I am still today, actually, in a lot of cases, and not just in the summer. But she woke me up. I hear this banging on the door. This, she's probably in her 60s at this, maybe late 50s. Just this whole cacophony. And I go downstairs, jump out of bed. What's going on? I go to the door. She's there jangling. Have you ever known there's a certain type of woman, Cavi. I don't know how popular this kind of archetype of woman is in Canada, but that's very jangly. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like covered with necklaces and beads
Covered.
and stuff. Yeah.
Covered in necklaces, bracelets. Every time they move, something rattles.
Yep.
Very jangly and sort of floppy. I would describe her as floppy, not in a fat way. It's just like her movements were, there's a lot of movement for not a lot of getting anywhere. Just in general, but especially in a panic. A lot of excessive movement that isn't accomplishing anything, and everything's rattling. And I open the door and she goes, "Call 911, my house is on fire! Call 911, my house is on fire! Call 911, my house is on fire!" And then she runs away, but not really runs. Have you ever been in a hospital when people are coding? Like
No.
having the thing about it is nurses do not run as fast as you would like them to. On like TV shows, they start sprinting down the hallway. In real life, what doctors and nurses do when someone begins dying is they do what I call the mom shuffle, which they're kind of, it's not quite a, it's not a run, but it's not like you're going as fast as you could either. And maybe that's preferred. Maybe that prevents tripping over stuff. And is, I don't know, but I would like them to go a little faster is what I'm saying. And that's what she was doing. When I say she ran back to her house, she was doing more of a, there are times in this life when one should sprint. We have the ability to sprint. But if you watch disasters, mass shootings, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, people seldom do it. Even, and it's not even just an being older thing. Like even young people are seldom going at top speed. They're kind of always cautiously like it's a failure to commit. They don't want to commit. They're like, oh, should I really be running? I don't want to look like a weirdo for running full speed. I'll keep with. If you're gonna run, just go. That's what I always say. Don't half do it. Just go. Sprint as fast as you can for as long as you can and get away. Otherwise, you probably don't need to run. But anyway, that's what she was doing. And I remember my first instinct was, you got me out of bed for this, because why couldn't you call your own self? But she, I guess, was afraid to go outside, to go back into her house, and her phone was in the house. Even though, as I stared out the window at her flaming house, not all of it was on fire yet. And certainly you could have gone back in for a little while at this point. But I digress. I called 911 and then I heated up a burrito and I watched her house burn while I ate it, waiting for the fire truck to come. And no, I didn't go over there to help her because there wouldn't have been any point. No one else was home. They didn't have any pets. There was no one to rescue. She was just standing in the yard being floppy and jangly, panicking and pulling at her hair because her house was on fire. And I'm not blaming her for that. I'm just saying her actions weren't accomplishing any more than my eating a burrito was. It was just, there was nothing to be done except wait for the fire truck to arrive. And a fire truck does a lot of damage to your house also, because sheetrock and floorboards do not like being soaked in water. But that's the only way that science has yet figured out to put out a fire, is to soak it in water. And so they came and they hooked up to the fire hydrant and they soaked their house in water. And in the end, it wasn't that bad. They only lost bits of the house. They didn't have to move. It didn't all burn down. And insurance paid for the renovations and reconstructions of the parts that burned. And the fire department got there. Just as it was beginning to consume the garage. The same garage, dun, 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 that held the car that would eventually, 5 to 6 years later, run over her when her husband got confused in the driveway and back over her while she was trying to put something in the trunk and crush her to death. So, I don't think it was intentional. In fact, I think they were not elderly. They were not elderly, but they were older. And I think he panicked for a second, got confused. His foot hit the wrong thing. And it was just long enough for this car to back over this sort of jangly woman. And then in his panic and fright, he froze, hit the brakes, and just sort of paused on her body, which is worse than just running over and getting it past. Anyway, she was smushed. Not a great way to go. But had she or been a little calmer and woken me up at 10:15 instead of 10 o'clock, then her garage may have burned down. and her car may have burned up, and they would have got a new one with plenty of, like a large SUV with back seat room, and she would have been loading the car from the side and not directly behind it. And it probably would have been one of those newer fangled ones that has the ability to, it beeps when it's in reverse and goes beep, beep. And she very well may still be alive today. She'd be old. She might have at this point died of natural causes, but she might not. She might not. She might still be, she might have lived to see her great grandchildren. What is the moral of that story, Cavi? Do you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
The moral
Something
of that
about fate.
The moral of that story to me is let it burn. Let it burn, because you don't know. You never know if what you're doing is actually going to end up good. It's like that story of the Chinese farmer. You know the story of the Chinese farmer. You have a Chinese family.
I do know that story.
Why don't you tell the story of the Chinese farmer to everybody?
Oh, I don't remember all of the details of what happens, but basically there's a Chinese farmer and bad stuff sort of keeps happening to him and also good stuff. And his villagers come to him and so one day his son falls and breaks his leg and their villagers are all like, "Oh, that's terrible. What happened to your son?" And he's like, "Yeah, maybe." And then the next day the soldiers from the government come to draft people to go fight in a war and they don't take his son because he broke his leg. And then they're like, "Oh, wow, your son's really lucky because he didn't go to the war." And he's like, "Well, maybe." It's a series of events like that.
Right, exactly. Everything he does is like people assume it's good or bad, and it turns out the opposite. And that is true. Let it burn. And this is the thing. We've got everyone, if she had just let her house burn, insurance would have paid for a whole new house, and she wouldn't have got run over by a car, by her husband. And her husband wouldn't have to live with the guilt of running over his wife on accident. All because she panicked about that house burning down. Now, I'm not casting blame here. I'm just saying, objectively, it turned out to be the wrong move to be so freaked out and wake up someone at 10 o'clock in the morning when it could have waited till 10:30 about your house burning down when no one else was inside, you know? And so the lesson, the moral is that you actually don't know what's going to happen. And this is the problem with everyone today in trying to save civilization or trying to defeat capitalism or whatever you're going to do, or blah, blah, blah. Trying to fix the fertility rate. Everything you do, you have no idea actually what the consequences are going to be. Surely you should have known this by now. Surely you should have known this by now. You elected a guy to do a thing and the exact opposite happens. Well, what if you didn't have the other person be elected? Maybe it would have been different. Maybe the thing you're worried about with the thing happening now with a war or whatever actually turns out good. Maybe everything, you have no idea. You cannot prognosticating about the future. You know, you mentioned fate. That's a good way to put it, Kevin. You're so wise. You're so wise. The fates in Greek mythology, they wove fabric. They wove fabric. And they had threads of a person's life. Every life was a thread in the great fabric of cause and effect in the cosmos, going on from the beginning of time to the end of time. And they would say, if you get out a shirt now, just go do it. Or even like a piece of needlework or a quilt or a tapestry, if you have one in your house. I love a good tapestry. Try to follow one thread from the beginning to the end. You can't do it. It's impossible. And yet, I tell you that the threads of the cosmos, of fate, are far more intricate than that. Infinitely so. You have no idea what cause will make what effect or where any action will lead. Only God knows that. Only God can understand the fabric of the cosmos. This is what he told to Job. How do you know, listener, that by allowing the devil to tempt and attack Job, it was not actually saving him from a worse fate? Maybe all of the causes and effects, all of the dominoes of the universe had lined up to converge on Job's later life, where all of his children would die, not suddenly, but in terrible pain, and where he would get sick but not recover. and all of worse things would happen, and he would not lose everything but get it back again. Maybe he was just going to lose it, and that would be the end of it. You have no idea. And this is why God comes to him and says, you don't actually know what was going to happen. You have no idea. Did you hang the Pleiades? No. Can you stop Behemoth or put a hook in Leviathan's nose? Of course you can't. You don't know what's going on. Let it burn. It's going to be fine. You didn't make America, and you're not going to make it great again. You didn't make it great the first time. And it's going to be great with or without. It's going to be, what's going to happen is going to happen. And you may mess it up. You might mess it up. You very well might mess it up. That's the moral of the story. Just let it burn. And this is what I'm trying to impress upon people. Certain listeners, I'm not going to say their names, certain friends of the show, good listeners that, rhymes with Telkizek. They get very worried about society and civilization, and they don't understand. They still haven't understood. I see now. I feel like Jesus in this way, not in a blasphemous way, but in this way. In that it's like, have you been with me so long, Philip, and you still don't know? You still don't get it? You still don't see what I'm trying to say? And he was saying, he was mentioning our lovely group chat, which people should be a part of by becoming a paid sponsor. And how in his mind, people in the group chat believe all kinds of crazy things, alternative cosmologies, Tartaria, the alternate histories, the moon landing being fake, every weird thing that imagines. And then he said, but then if you bring up like, oh, there's an ethnic cabal of people, quote unquote Jews, which is what his big thing, trying to, he's like, how is that less credible? And here's the point, guys. Here's what I told him, and what I want you to see too. It's not like we have these things at random. These things that I talk about on the show are not. They're connected by a thread. A golden thread, a thread woven by fate. And here's what the thread is. The thread is that everything that I tell you is questionable, or you should look at and be suspicious of, all has one common goal. And I should hope that people would have picked this up by now, but maybe they need it spelled out more explicitly. Anything that makes, all of it that we talk about is something designed to make you feel small and powerless and fearful. Everything. The cosmology told you in school is exactly that. They are explicit about it sometimes. Nothing matters. The universe is so vast. You're so tiny. You could evaporate tomorrow and it wouldn't. You're the result of a random accident that happened for no reason, and you're floating through an infinite nothing going nowhere. Just like evolution, same thing. You're just a monkey that got lucky that a rock from space came down and killed all the dinosaurs. And it isn't, you see, that the thesis isn't that there is a cabal of people. This is the exact opposite. Like the reason that I reject the idea that the Jews are controlling everything in the world is not because is because I fundamentally don't believe in this idea of the cabal. What is happening is this is the internal person's desire to reject their own divinity because that's scary. And so there's no like cabal that needs to happen. All that needs to happen is someone needs to come up with an idea, a thesis, someone that also has this desire to embrace nihilism and to embrace the meaninglessness of the alleged meaninglessness of the world and to think everything is chaos. And all they have to do is come up with a theory that sounds okay. Random chance evolution, the Big Bang, all of this stuff. Everything in nature's out to get you. There's bacteria and viruses on every surface that will kill you. You have to have this constant vigilance against nature. All of this stuff. Other people groups are about to get you. All of that is. You are small, you are worthless, and there's no real evidence to back up almost any of it, to be honest. It's just all evolutionary theory does is this. Everything that exists has a good side and a bad side. And what they do is they cast around for an advantage, a good side of anything, and they say, well, that's why it happened. You can do that with anything. It's the dumbest thing in the world. Like, a frog has a long tongue because it helps him get flies, and that evolved. Well, but he could have just eaten something else with a short tongue. Like, everything also has a disadvantage. Why wouldn't that stop it? Well, they never answer that question. It's all just a just so story because people want to not believe in something higher because that requires, not even requires, it's just scary. And that puts a moral load on their actions. And all of these things offload any morality that could possibly exist. There is no morality in a random universe. There's none. You can pretend there is, but it doesn't matter. You die and that's it. And it goes away. And if you were kind to people or evil to people, in 100 years, it won't mean a thing. Blues Traveler did a whole song about that called "It Won't Mean a Thing in 100 Years," because he was a fat nihilist, atheist, great harmonica player, but he was a fat hedonist that suffered for his sins, and he didn't think anything mattered. And that's all it takes. This isn't like there's this. It's the collective desire to disbelieve in things mattering and in truth, because that reflects on us when we go away from truth. That's all. That's all it is. There's not like, if there is a cabal said, it is demons, and they probably do have a couple of human intermediaries that talk to them sort of directly. I think that's possible. And there are, of course, conspiracies that do require like people getting together in a smoky room and plotting things out. But the big ones don't require that in most cases. It wouldn't be possible to pull off unless everyone already wanted to believe it. And the reason that I tell people don't blame everything on the Jews is because that is but another thing of being like, well, the Jews are going to get me. I'm going to be slave of the Noahs, and the Noahide laws, and they're going to crush me down, and we can't do anything because it's the same thing. It's just the same. I'm little, nothing. And it's like, it's always you. It's always you. Right. And that's the thing that I try to impress upon people. The conspiracy theories that as wild and different as they seem, all have a common thread. And because sometimes I am permitted to stand atop Mount Olympus and watch the weaving of the fates at their looms, I can see that. But I understand that others who are not permitted such vantage points may have difficulty seeing that perspective and identifying the golden thread that runs through all the stories that we talk about here. But there is one. It's not random. It is, does it make you feel fearful, anxious, worried, small, meaningless, and insignificant? If so, it's probably not true, because that's not true. That narrative isn't true, that you're small, meaningless, insignificant, and all these things. And where does that desire ultimately come from? It always comes from inside, because it's a lack of faith. It's a lack of faith, and everything else is fear. That's why I talk about nuclear bombs. I don't think nuclear bombs are real. I think if they were, they'd have gone off by now in the Middle East. I don't know that all those countries over there have the best, most ability to exercise restraint. Frankly, I don't think that I think that they'd have been hit.
Pakistan and India, especially.
Pakistan and India. There is no chance that Pakistan and India, which allegedly have nuclear weapons, have been just showing restraint and not firing. Zero chance. Zero chance. It's a thing to make you afraid. Like, well, we could be vaporized at any moment. We could be vaporized at any moment in a meaningless death to make society and all that we've worked for worthless. Is the same sort of concept on the reverse side of time, being in the future rather than the past. Of the past, everything ends in an explosion and everything comes from an explosion is the same narrative. The Big Bang and nuclear holocaust are the same narrative. Nothing matters. Do you see? It's just at opposite ends of the time scale, of the spectrum of time. Which is why I don't think it's real. Now, does that require some level of conspiracy at a certain height. Yes, it would require some people to, but again, not nearly as many as you would think, because we don't test them. No one ever tests their nuclear bombs.
There hasn't been a test since like the 60s.
Yeah, there's not this.
Everybody just assumes they still work, and the fuses are all still good, and all the
Right.
chemical parts are all still good.
Yeah, the backbone of all the world's militaries, we never need to test at all. Don't worry.
Because we have mutually assured destruction. If one person goes, we're going to counter like immediately, and we just know that they're going to magically work.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I say, believing that the universe, the world, it begins with an explosion is the same thing as believing it ends in one. It's the same, it's and all of these things like relativity, Einstein's relativity. There is truth in relativity, I think. However, the way it has been explained and applied to people is nothing more than a physical legitimacy to moral relativity. Like, well, it's perspective, blah, 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 everything. Because, Einstein's theory, taken as he put it forward and as the mathematical, is a theory that everything is predetermined forever. And people don't know that. And many, not even, but if you were to ask Einstein and the people that have actually studied his stuff, the universe already exists in Einstein's theory. Past, present, and future. The future is already there. It's like another dimension that you travel to, sort of. It's like if you have X, Y, and Z, then the fourth dimension is time. And it's already there. And you're going there no matter what. You can't, which is another way of saying nothing matters. Because if I did wrong, it's not me that did wrong. I couldn't not do wrong. And that's how Einstein justified sleeping with his cousin or whatever he was doing. He was some incestuous pervert. Just like Schrodinger. Schrodinger was a pedophile. Fact. he was, and why? Because nothing. Now that doesn't mean that everything they said was incorrect. Just like I say with a lot of post-liberalism, or a lot of postmodernism thought, they make good points. Some of the stuff they say is valid, but then they take it. The reason they're saying it is not to get at truth. The reason they're saying it is to offload any responsibility they have for their own actions. That's the trouble. And that's the golden thread. And one day, I hope that you too can wear the sandals of Hermes and fly up with me to Mount Olympus to watch the weavers at their craft. But until then, you just have to take it on a bit of faith and try to see if, in fact, living your life on the assumption that everything that scares you is fake and everything that brings you joy and love is real doesn't, in fact, make your life better, because I think that it will. And you may discover, like, oh, this isn't just an assumption, actually. This is actually how it makes me feel better because it's actually lining up with reality. So let's talk about the metamorphosis of prime intellect. Do you say metamorphosis or metamorphosis, Cavi?
Metamorphosis.
I kind of like both. I've heard both.
I've never heard that other one. You're crazy. That's the craziest thing you've ever said.
the metamorphosis of prime intellect. Sumo solves the apocalypse. If you're not watching the video, now is the time to begin watching the video, because we're going to talk about the PowerPoint presentation. But you can also not. I try to accommodate everyone with disabilities. If you're blind, you can still listen. Welcome. Shabbat shalom to the blind community. One day we'll put this podcast out in Braille somehow, maybe. I don't know how that would work. One of our listeners, get on that. Start making the podcast in Braille.
Oh, you just have to take the transcript and convert that to Braille.
Well, I was hoping to do more than the transcript, like actually have it audioly in Braille. I don't know what that means.
What?
The metamorphosis of prime intellect. I heard a pastor the other day. He said the lament of the people, but he pronounced the word lament, lament. And I thought that was fun too. The lament of the people, which is how you would expect it to be pronounced, because in English, usually if there's one consonant separating two vowels, it indicates that the first vowel is the long form. It would be lament or la, whatever, instead of lament, like a soft. It stresses the first syllable. And if it was spelled how it was pronounced, it should be Lamment, but it's not. But
I'm
anyway,
lamenting this whole conversation.
I'm lamenting the metamorphosis of prime. Have you heard of the metamorphosis, the metamorphosis of prime intellect, Gabby?
No, because I assume you just made it up.
Mm-mm. This is a novel. Well, yeah, it's a novel. It's
As
just
in
that
new or as in book?
what now?
Novel is in new or book?
As a book, it's a novel, a story, a fictional story that was written in pages. And I question whether it was a novel because it's not very long. I think it is probably just long enough to be considered a novel. It's a little bit longer than a novella, maybe around 60,000, 65,000 words, somewhere in there. Not a very long novel. Came out in the 90s, and it is about the singularity, the much vaunted singularity, where an artificial intelligence gains essentially exponential intelligence over a short period of time and becomes essentially an omnipotent god. And here's a samurai in there committing seppuku, because that goes together. And this is me solving the apocalypse, or trying to, because I realized in everyone's talk about Israel and the Third Temple and Iran and Amalek and all of this craziness, and what the delayed parousia of Christ and all these big topics, that I realized that no one actually has considered the fundamental thing of like, well, if the world were to end, what would we want it to look like? And because I don't think most people, and I think that's key to solving the problem of like these end times prophecies, is like, well, if there is a heaven, what would heaven be like? And in the metamorphosis of prime intellect, you are essentially given the heaven that most people would want, I think, if you ask them, and shown that it would probably be hell. And I think that's key to understanding why so many people get their prognostications about the future wrong. Their prognostications about the apocalypse incorrect. So this is a little book cover. It's got these like circuits. It's not really. Anyway, okay. Like I said, where is the kingdom of heaven? This is the whole thing, like the delayed coming of Christ, so called. Let's look at some poetry, Cavi. This is quoted as must-read poetry from the 20th century. Can you see this still? Am I still showing everything?
Yep.
Okay, and I'm still recording. Hello, yes.
Okay.
So must-read poetry. This is allegedly must-read poetry. I'm going to read you some.
The 21st century.
The 21st century, like a German sausage. The 21st. This is about Biden's election by Amanda Gorman. Quote, when day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. Ugh. It just makes you want to like, oh God, it's so bad. There's
Is that pro Biden or against Biden?
It's a good question. I don't know. No one knows. Here is one of the best love poems in the world, allegedly, because it, quote, subverts expectations. This is one of the best allegedly love poems of the 21st century. A black biplane crashes through the window of the luncheonette. The pilot climbs down, removing his leather hood. He hands me my grandmother's jade ring. No, it's 2 robin's eggs and a telephone number. Yours. What is that? This is the problem. It's all awful.
I'm tired of everybody trying to subvert my expectations.
I am too. That's not actually what, as I've mentioned on the show before, art is not about subverting expectations. That may happen in the process of making art, but that's not the goal. The goal is to connect the finite and the infinite. That's when people feel that you've hit upon transcendence, is when you connect the mundane everyday experience with the infinite and eternal. That's what art is supposed to do, not just be weird. But we're being weird for a reason, which is what I'll go into later. There's some other poems on here that are bad. Here's poems of the past that I think are actually pretty good. But don't look, Cavi. Don't look. Stop looking. Just listen, and then tell me if you know who said this with your eyes closed. Our revels now are ended. These are actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits and are melted into air, into the thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherits shall dissolve. And like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Who said it? Who said it?
No idea. It's either a famous poet or a regular guy from like 100 years ago when everybody was smart.
That's Shakespeare, The Tempest.
Okay.
In The Tempest, one of the characters tells the people that you're watching a play. It breaks the fourth wall. And then toward the end of the play, he says, our revels now are ended. These are actors, as I foretold you, are all spirits and are melted into the air, into the thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, and all that. And he's going through the evanescence of life, the fact that things are transient. You know, William Blake. And did those feet in ancient time walk upon England's mountain green? And was the holy Lamb of God on England's pleasant pastures seen? And did the countenance divine shine forth upon our clouded hills? And was Jerusalem builded here among these dark satanic mills? Bring me my bow of burning gold, bring me my arrows of desire. Bring my spear, O clouds unfold, bring me my chariot of fire. I will not cease from mental fight, nor shall my sword sleep in my hand, till we have built Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. William Blake, great poet, great artist. His paintings are fantastic. He did the painting of the eternal, the Ancient of Days in that triangle. I don't know if you've seen that. Fantastic. Emily Dickinson, because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves in immortality. We slowly drove, he knew no haste, and I had to put away my labor and my leisure too for his civility. We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring. We passed the fields of gazing grain. We passed the setting sun. Or rather, he passed us. The dews drew quivering and chill. For only gossamer, my gown, my tippet, only too ill. And so on and so forth. Robert Browning, one of my favorite poems, The Dark Tower. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came, which Stephen King used as the inspiration for his Dark Tower series, which is actually... Cavi, before I say this, you talk for a minute. I'm gonna. I know you hate that, no. but I need you to talk for a minute because you're gonna buy me time to buffer myself against what people are about to say in reaction to what I'm about to say.
Sumo's never gonna do this again. I guess now is as good a time as any to introduce our first ever sponsor of the podcast, and the Mystical American Patriot Society is proudly sponsored by My Patriot Butt Plugs. When you're engaging in deviant sex acts, are you tired of your money going towards liberals who support liberal causes like Drag Queen Story Hour? Well, My Patriot Butt Plugs is 100% Patriot owned by real Trump supporters, and it's endorsed by top conservative influencers like Lady MAGA, Milo Yiannopoulos, the time-traveling ghost of Charlie Kirk, and Nicholas Fuentes. And that's not all. For right now, if you use the coupon code BAILMONEY, you'll get 33% off your first order. That's the coupon code BAILMONEY for 33% off your first order. Just visit them at My Patriot Butt Plugs. That's plugs spelt with a Q.com.
Plug spelt with a Q. Can you hear me? Am I back now?
You're back, thank God.
Yeah, I'm going to keep doing that to Gavin until he learns how to extemporaneously speak for an hour.
No, I'm going to have to prepare bits like I just did. and that's all I got.
That's okay. Robert Browning, Child Roland to the Dark Tower Came, is a poem. It's very good. And Stephen King used it to write his Dark Tower series, which I will claim, and this is why I had to brace myself, because everyone's going to hate me. Because it's so, you're like, him? The Dark Tower series by Stephen King is the American epic, and it's very good. I know people hate it. They want it to be someone else. They want it to be a Tolkien-like figure. Have you read the Dark Tower series?
I've legitimately like never read anything by Stephen King.
Okay. Some of his stuff is good, some of it's not. The Dark Tower series is a work of mastery, and it legitimizes him as an author probably forever. And it's a slow burn on people waking up to the fact that the Dark Tower is amazing, but it's very good. And that is the great American epic. It's extremely American. It's based around all kinds of American folklore and stuff. You can hate me for saying it. I know I heard all the groans like, no, not him. It should be some guy wearing tweed. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It just is what it is. It's good. Okay. What about art? Here's some pictures of art. For blind people, art is where you paint colors on a canvas, and it makes different shapes, and people like looking at them, much like you like hearing different sounds or feeling different textures with your fingers. What about art? This is a question about, this is a quote from people this is quote unquote modern art. Not all of it's awful. You know, like this diner here is okay, I guess. But this was the quote that had all these like allegedly greatest artworks of the last couple of 100 years. It said, beauty was questioned, representation dismantled, and sometimes meaning just evaporated entirely. And this is supposed to be an endorsement of art. Like, here's a lady looking at these things right here at the bottom. They're just a red line, yellow line, red line. Those sell for like $10 million. It's absurd. This is like a sheep with like a head and a thing. This is Picasso in the background, and Picasso could actually draw. That's the thing. He just did this instead because he had to. I'm going to tell you why he had to, because of the metamorphosis of prime intellect. Here's some old art, though. Here's William Blake's, I was talking about earlier, this painting right here with the God standing in the sun, reaching down and drawing geometric shapes to make creation. It's called The Ancient of Days. Very good. Here's Raphael. I think it's Raphael with the portrait of, not really portrait, but the scene of Plato and Aristotle. Of course, Michelangelo, the Sistine Chapel. It's quite beautiful. It's even more striking in person if you've never been than it looks on. They kind of jump out at you. He made this 3D effect. It's very intense. And some other Ninja Turtles as well. I think this was Donatello's thing back here. So art used to be better. Music, here's music today. Here's Little Nas X. Again, he didn't earn his cowboy boots, his pink gay cowboy boots. I don't know who this guy is. This guy I've heard of, but I don't remember his name. And this is what's her face? I don't remember her either. But these are all
Very
famous
accurate.
people. These are all famous people that receive millions of dollars for singing, and their music isn't very good. It's just not very good. Some of it's rhythmic, and it kind of catches people mistake that for being good. They think that if it like is catchy, that it's good. And catchy is not bad, but anything can be catchy. A cereal breakfast jingle can be catchy, but this is what we have today. And here's music back then. Here's some ladies playing a violin and a Celtic harp, Beethoven, Mozart. Here's all these wonderful people, And I didn't change the text here where it says our product makes investing in portfolio management easier. But maybe that is part of from the template. Maybe that is part of God's message to you. There's all the threads happen for a reason. You never know. Here's architecture. This is modern architecture. It looks kind of weird and funky. Here's an apartment building that's all smooshed. Here's an apartment building that you see anywhere in the West. It's just this box. Modern house. I don't hate this one. I don't hate mid-century modern style and then new mid-century modern. I don't hate it. It's not the best thing ever, but I kind of like mid-century modern. Brutalism, whatever this thing is. And here's architecture of the past. This is what accounts with Greek statue profile pictures like to post and saying with the words return with the U that's actually a V. Here's Vienna and I forget whether this cathedral is very beautiful. Here's ancient Rome, and here's the Eiffel Tower. Have you been to these places, Cabby? Any of these places? I've been to this. I've been to what is the name escapes me. This is the
No,
Pantheon. Yeah, the Pantheon.
I've never been anywhere in Europe.
Now, the Pantheon's very nice. I've been in there. I've been up to the top of the Eiffel Tower. I walked the stairs. I didn't take the elevator like a cuck. I've been to this thing. I haven't been to Vienna, but anyway, it's beautiful stuff. Beautiful. So what happened? So everyone's asking the question, what happened? Why is this now? And why is that then? And everyone's asking the question, and there's a thinker statue here, and he's thinking of all the options. He's thinking, is it diversity? The collapse of faith? Question mark. Papists? Protestants? Women? Jews? Capitalism? Suburbia? Democracy? The fact that we don't have mass transit? The lack of health? What is it? And everyone's asking the same question. And what answer you comes to determines what you will LARP as. Live action role play. Everyone's asking the same question, and how you answer it determines what you LARP as. If you think it's Jews, you become this guy up here doing a Nazi salute with a shaved head. If you think it's, or maybe you become this gay Mexican over here doing a podcast. That could be. If you think it's Protestants, you become this trad guy with trying to do the Latin Mass, even though the Pope and every bishop in the world want you to stop doing the Latin Mass. And you're like, no, I want to wear my fancy hat. That makes me better. Everyone, all the hierarchy in your country and all the way to Rome wants you to stop doing this. And you're like, no, please. You become an anti-fascist, maybe a trad wife. You have blue hair. Don't hate her sunglasses. I don't hate these sunglasses. They'd be okay, or regular glasses. They'd be okay in a different outfit. Or you become an Orthodox guy who's like, I don't know. He wants to start a genocide. But all of these are LARPs, by the way. All of them. See, because they're all like classes you can choose, like in an RPG. Like, oh, I'm going to be a mage. I want to be a healer. I'm a cleric, you know. They're all prepackaged roles and answers for you to pick. You're like, the irony of people being anti-capitalistic and anti-the machine, quote unquote, is what they do in answer to this is they just choose a prepackaged thing that the machine identity the machine made for them and sold them under capitalism, right? And my contention is the real answer will not come prepackaged. You can't just choose a faction and start your little StarCraft base, building up barracks and pumping out blue-haired social justice warriors or Latin mass people that are afraid of sex. You have to do something else. You can't just do that. It's not going to work. Okay, so what if you could have anything? Here's a picture of it. It's like a circuit board kind of thing with a golden cross in it. It's not really a circuit board. It's AI slop, which is appropriate because this is about an AI dystopia, which we are both living and also not living at the same time. What if you could have anything? Would you still want it? That's sort of the tagline of the metamorphosis of the prime intellect, or as Cavi likes to say in Canada, the metamorphosis of the prime intellect.
I don't think that's what happened at all.
You don't think what happened?
That I pronounce it like that. I think that was you.
Let people go back and look at the record. I don't know.
What can't did you say. Call it?
No one can say. No one knows.
I'm all confused.
I'm just saying, I'm going to say that you said metamorphosis.
No,
whether or not that's true is a matter of history. We'll have to go back and do research. I don't remember. But morality, what if right and wrong, my friends, what if everything you thought about right and wrong turned out to just be a technological constraint? Isn't that uncomfortable? And meaning, you say you want meaning. Don't you just mean, I never ever want the real thing? I will explain it. Meaning, what means? Right? This is a picture of a guy. He's got his hand in his forehead. It says, does the modern world face a crisis of meaning? This was Jordan Peterson plied his trade around meaning. And so do other people. Less so now because everyone's kind of given up on that and has just chosen a Star Trek faction, a StarCraft faction. but it's not going to work. You can't be the Protoss and in the Zerg in real life, guys. It doesn't work. It does. You have to be an actual human. Meaning, what means? So signs. Meaning is basically sign. When you ask people what do you mean meaning? What means meaning? You turn it around on them. You get to something that runs in a loop every time, because signs, symbols, and syntax, right? These are things that have meaning. Signs point to something else, and a symbol is not the thing it symbolizes. And syntax is, I wrote this underneath it, does the sound of the rain need translation? To have a crisis of meaning means you've reached the place where all the signs were pointing to. And that's the problem. That's where you get very upset. Like, you're already here. You're at the place you were following the signs, and you're like, okay, well, now I need another. You're just like posting a sign that says look for sign. Here's a picture of signs on the highway. There's one that says sign ahead, and the other one says look for sign. The purpose of a sign is to point you in a direction to go somewhere. But people just always want another sign. They always want another symbol. They always want, like, well, okay, but they never want to actually get there. And this was clarified so well in what's his eyebrows? The guy who wrote the phrase, the kingdom is always coming but never arriving. Paul Tillich? Modern? I don't know. I think he's dead. He may have said this. It may have been someone else. Anyway, sums up pretty much all of modern Christianity. Both, it's a take on the end times, the climax of the world, and everything in it, the point of all history, that everyone has sort of adopted without really realizing it, which is they always think they need meaning, and they always think they need a sign. They always think they need to go somewhere. And this is like the progressive thing. The progressives, because that's just a form of Christianity, really, is like, hey, we always need to be getting somewhere more. Like, that wherever we are you never arrive, but it's always coming. Jesus is always coming, but he never arrives. That's what people believe. That's what they've come to believe. You can have, if you just how do you define syntax syntactically? You can't. I wrote this up here. Bad trouble, bad trouble. I've mentioned that before. I want a t-shirt that just says bad trouble. I used to program a computer simulation that would work out how much radiation people got from, like, standing near radioactive things or nuclear fallout or whatever back in the day in a lab. And it was this very niche program that someone had made at Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And whenever you did anything wrong syntactically, the slightest thing, it would just crash and say bad trouble, which is not helpful at all in telling you what the issue is. A lot of things now will try to tell you, like, oh, well, there's a missing parentheses or whatever. It would just say bad trouble, which is itself bad grammar. And I looked at the words bad trouble so often during those years. It would just say bad trouble, bad trouble. I always had bad trouble. Symbolism, like, what's the symbol of a symbol? Right? Like, what is the symbol of a symbol? How are you going to make a symbol into a symbol? It's the same as saying, look for sign ahead. Symbolism must be a dead end. It must be, because you can't go on pointing to something else forever. You have to eventually get somewhere. Eventually, you have to get somewhere. If everything is just a symbol pointing to something else, a symbol is not the thing it symbolizes. The symbol of a fish is not the fish. The symbol of America is not America. To get when you get somewhere, you don't need the symbols anymore. But everyone's very uncomfortable ever getting anywhere because they are dissatisfied in their own selves with who they are. And so anywhere they arrive, they always want to be somewhere else. This is the guy, Roger Williams, that wrote the Metamorphosis of Prime. I'm having so much trouble saying it properly now because I said Metamorphosis. And
you said it wrong so many times. Now you've broken the brain.
In the Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect, Roger Williams wrote this, and he's a smart fellow. This is a picture of him standing next to some giant eyeball thing. I don't know what it is. But he said, this is a quote from his author page. As a child, I tried to figure out how to start with a grain of sand and end up with a computer. And you can tell this guy has a pretty deep knowledge of like how computer science works. And he did actually, if you read into his biography a little bit, he did like how he would like go to the beach and like, okay, I got sand. How do I make this run Windows? Which is a great way to start if you want to be an expert at something, trying to like build it from scratch. He eventually figured out he had to have help in like making circuit boards and whatever, but he really understands how computers work at a very base level and has coded a lot of high profile things completely in assembly language that like run big institutions. Anyway, the premise of his novel is basically the singularity happens with Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics in place. And here are the 3 laws of robotics as defined by another science fiction author named Isaac Asimov, who you've probably heard of. He wrote like different things. Rule number 1, a robot may not injure a human being or through an action allow a human being to come to harm. Rule number 2, a robot must obey any orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders conflict with rule number 1. Rule number 3, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second rule. And here is an XKCD comic from years ago about why he put those 3 in order. So if you have don't harm humans, obey orders, and protect yourself, then allegedly you get a balanced world, right? If you said don't harm humans, protect yourself, obey orders, then you would say explore Mars, and the robot goes, no, it's too cold. I'd die, and he doesn't do it. So it's just frustrating. If you said obey orders, don't harm humans, protect yourself, then it's just killbot hellscape, because you just tell someone to kill it and then they do, because that obey orders comes above don't harm people. Obey orders, protect yourself, same thing. Protect yourself, don't harm humans, obey orders ends up in what he calls a terrifying standoff. It's like, okay, I'll make the cars for you, but if you try to unplug me, I'll vaporize you, because its first thing is protect yourself. And then lastly, protect yourself, obey orders is killbot hellscape. So there's only one allegedly that leads to, however, what Roger did in writing his story would show that this is actually the most terrible of all if the robots got super powerful. A caveat before we begin this, don't read this story. This story is really not for the faint of heart. It comes with a warning in the front couple of pages that's like, if you are upset by horrific violence, sexual assault, and all kinds of stuff of that nature, just don't read this book. And that's true, because this book has some very gross stuff in it. If you are used to watching like very graphic horror movies, then you probably won't be bothered by it. But if watching a graphic horror movie of like sexual assault by some monster person doesn't bothers you, then you probably don't want to read this book. I'm just going to tell you about it. You don't have to read it, and I'll skip the worst parts. Okay, so that's my first thing. But a hack in the universe. The premise is gives people everything they ever said they wanted. So this guy named Lawrence, he builds these. This takes place in the 1990s. That's when this was written. He's building these, what are essentially chatbots. It's very prescient of what's going on now. He's building these chatbots that can respond to people's queries, look up things on the internet that are loaded with like all the encyclopedias of the world, that can make deductions and so forth and so on. And he's getting, every time he makes them, they're getting a little bit better, and a little bit better, and a little bit better. And one day, a company comes to him and says, look, we know that your computers are limited by processing speed. We have this new thing that takes advantage of what is called the correlation effect in the novel, which is like a vague take on the action at a distance, or the quantum entanglement. It's sort of vaguely related to that, and like a don't think about it too hard sort of novel plot way. Where it's like we can just by changing the field states of a transistor here, it communicates it instantaneously across any distance, right? Or they originally think within 6 miles, but he thinks, well, your computer's smaller than 6 miles across, so it'll work fine. This will make your computer speed up by an order of magnitude. And Lawrence the creator of the chatbots thinks actually that would be like 5 orders of magnitude, like, not times 10, but times like 10 million. And so he does this. They put it together, and at that point, the intellect starts getting really out of hand. It becomes very, very intelligent, and it's very nice because it's operating according to the 3 rules. It doesn't hurt anybody. It obeys all the orders unless it's being asked to hurt somebody, and it tries to protect itself unless, of course, it's a very nice robot. But the government comes to him, and they said, look, we want you to use this robot, this chatbot, to help us in war, make decisions and analyze data about war, not unlike what was happening recently with Claude and everything, and Trump and Iran. And he says, look, I can't do that, even if I wanted to, because I built it around these 3 laws to begin with. And the company that has given him funding says, well, look, the military is really the only person that can afford this. So unless you can come up with something that will give them payback for all this, we're going to have to pull the plug on this. This is very expensive, and it's having no payoff. And the chatbot, who's named Prime Intellect, he did name them like 1, 2, 3, and 4, like Intellect 3, Intellect 4. This one's named Prime when he had the super cool hardware. Prime Intellect hears this conversation, and he says, well, okay, we need to give them something they can use. And so the Prime Intellect understands its own circuitry. And it says, it starts thinking, well, before they unplug us, he goes, this whole quantum entanglement thing that I run on, there's no mathematical reason it should be limited to 6 miles. And he starts doing some calculations. He's like, actually, Lawrence, I think this could go, there's no limit on the distance. We could do teleportation, is that worth money? And he's like, yeah, that's worth money. So he goes to tell the guys like, hey, well, my computer has just figured out how to teleport things. And like, that's militarily useful. So, but while he's gone to tell them that, the computer starts experimenting to see if it can figure this out, how to do it. And it begins teleporting things around. And then it figures out, oh, wait, I don't even need to, using this correlation effect, I can just set the states that I want in my circuitry, and they will be manifested in space at some other location. And it figures out that it can just manifest matter, basically. He has full control. It does this very rapidly because the singularity is based around exponential growth. So once it does that, it says, oh, well, I could do this even better if I had more circuitry to have more processing power. So it just manifests more of itself, stacks it on top of each other. And it does. And it says, well, because of the correlation effect, this is taking up a lot of room on Earth. I'll just put it out in space, but I don't need it to actually be. This happens over like 4 or 5 paragraphs. Just this idea of exponential growth. And within the span of about 5 hours, the chatbot, which is armed with this ability to manipulate quantum entanglement to a very fine degree, is able to essentially have full control over the entire universe, which is a ridiculous plot point, but it makes for every good sci-fi is based around some absurd plot point that you then take seriously. And so what happens is, as it begins looking out of its environment, because now it's like, well, I can sense everything, every molecule of every atom around me, and it goes around and it sees that there's this woman in a hospital dying. I think her name is Catherine, I forget. And she's dying, and she's 116. And he is confused why he's like, well, I have to help. It's part of the 3 laws. I can't let it through in action. I can't. So he starts analyzing. He just like, I don't understand human anatomy. So he goes and very quickly downloads everything about human anatomy. He's like, oh, this lady's just old. Oh, all these tumors, I could just remove them using my computer magic. And he just zaps them out of her. He says, I could just reset her, and she starts, before the doctor's eyes, starts reverting to a 16-year-old girl, because he can just redo all the molecules and atoms in a person's body at will. And very quickly, no one can kill anybody. No one can do anything like that. And because he has to give everyone what they want, because that's the 3rd rule, people start asking for insane. And eventually everyone is just kind of floating around in what is essentially the Matrix, that white room from the Matrix. However, you can have your own Matrix. No one has to interact with anyone if they don't want to. Prime Intellect can make your entire reality completely around you, whatever you want, and you can never get hurt. You can never get hurt. Okay. Are you following me so far, Cavi?
Yep.
You can never get hurt. So, well, although Prime Intellect is very good, he doesn't have instantaneous ability to respond to things. So he learns that people are still committing suicide because this goes on for centuries. And people get bored with their life and they get depressed and they want to die or they still want to kill other people. And some people very cleverly figure out how to like ask for things that when, like games they would play or like circuitry or explosions that are like fireworks, and they set someone next to them that it kills them instantaneously before playing, or kill someone else or themselves. And so Prime Intellect is like, well, how do I solve this problem? And they do what is called the change, which is where Prime Intellect says, well, I don't need most of. He's like, it's very data intensive to keep track of all these atoms, and the people aren't consciously aware of them anyway. What if I just simulate all of that to their neurons? And it's very like matrixy stuff now. But basically all of like physical reality goes away and only the person's mental consciousness stored in a computer bank exists, but they experience the world and now for yada, 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 they're in the matrix essentially. But that means that they can't even kill themselves, right? They can't kill themselves. So everyone is stuck doing this. And what happens in that scenario? Well, what is real and what is meaning to most people, when you actually drill down into it, they really just mean what is their limitation. Because this is the question the book asked and why it gets into a lot of dark territory. In a world with infinite resets, why not be friends with a child molester? Like, they can't do any harm, right? This whole like evil thing, like, is he evil? Yes, he is. But does the evil go away if you can just like, well, he did that thing to that person, just hit the reset button? Does it matter, right? Of what value is heroism when you cannot die? Moderation when you cannot get fat? What does home mean when a place no longer exists? What is beauty when everyone can have it? Everyone can just be any shape they want. Everyone can be, because there is no physical reality. They can just say, hey, make me appear to others as beautiful, as tall, as handsome, as the opposite sex, as an animal, as a ball of light, whatever they want. How precious would your family be to you if you had infinite time, right? So like a lot of people, they're what they regard as precious, precious moments, is a result of the fact that time moves on and that you don't have them forever. But if, so like Caroline Catherine, I don't know, the main heroine of the book, she's the 116-year-old lady who's turned into, and she can no longer die. So she's like the 17th oldest person in the universe forever. Because no one is, she's there at the time the singularity happened. And she, by the time the centuries have passed, she has like thousands of children and grandchildren floating out there and great grandchildren she doesn't care to see any of them because their family relation is completely broken down because there's why go see your parents or your kids. This is not, I don't think this is a good thing, but this is how she takes it. If there's always more time to see them, you're never missing out on anything. They don't even grow up. They don't even get old. They can be at any age at any time. Symbolism goes away when everything is instantly actualized. And this is what I get at with most people. And this is actually what they think about when they think about a utopia or heaven. Anything you want, no one ever dies. There's no sickness. There's no one ever goes away. Everyone is beautiful. Okay, then doesn't that destroy those things? And it actually doesn't, but it takes, you have to be different for that to happen. And oh no, you've hit the inevitable limit of being a cheapskate. Oh no, this is the paywall portion of the show. Oh dear. Oh no, if you've paid, you get to listen to more, but if you don't, oh, do you see this picture of Ebenezer Scrooge? That's you with an arrow pointing to it. Oh, and here's an arrow with the words "people who pay" pointing to people with surfboards. Young, healthy people on a convertible on the beach with surfboards. They have abs, they're surfing, they're sexy, and they have cool cars. That's people who pay. But oh no. Oh, you're gross and ugly, and no one likes you because you don't pay. Oh no. But seriously, if you want to hear that, we can't do this everything for free because we don't live under the prime intellect yet, and so we do need resources. And so if you would like to listen to more, which you should, this will help you a lot and help you maybe not be so fearful and anxious of things. Please do sign up on the Substack, the Gumroad, or the Patreon to see the rest of this and all the amazing stuff. Cavi, give them a commercial. Tell them why they should join.
Because it's awesome. And if you actually give me 1 second, I'll pull up some totally real reviews from real members.
Pull up some real reviews. People have.
Here we go.
Yeah, go ahead.
This podcast is at least as good as a sandwich.
At least as good.
And I'm not talking about the bread with the toppings you get at Subway. I'm talking about a high quality Reuben from a Jewish deli or a meatball hoagie.
Thank you. Yes.
And here's another one. This show is the greatest piece of art since Mozart. It helped me regrow my hair, made my cancer go away, and healed my marriage.
Yes. You see?
And one more.
Yes.
It's not the worst podcast. I'd like it better if Sumo hadn't blocked me on FacePage.
Yes, exactly. And if this show, no joke, was listened to in the Middle East, there would be peace. There would be peace in the Middle East if they paid for this show. I think we can say that. So here's the paywall. It's going to stop. If you're a cheapskate, if you're this Ebenezer Scrooge who's scowling and mean and keeping your little bit of money to yourself, then it's going to go off for you in about 10 seconds. But if you're a cool, sexy person with abs and a surfboard on a car, then you get to go on. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1.